Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 908A, and today's date is March 2nd, 2016, and the title of the episode is The Recovery is an Illusion. 36 states have not recovered yet. Now, before I get started, I just want to make an announcement. I placed an interview with David Morgan on the X22 Report Spotlight YouTube channel. So if you go over to YouTube, type in X22 Report Spotlight, you'll see the video there. Or you can come over to the x22report.com site. You can scroll down a little bit, look over to your right-hand side, you'll see the video there, and you can play it. Or you can go to newssentinel.com. Same thing. Scroll down a little bit, look over to your right-hand side, you'll see the video, and you can play it there. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, throughout the private Western Central Bank world, they're trying to still convince us that everything is fine, that they're out of recession, we're in this full recovery mode. And we see out in Europe right now that this is no way true. And we're getting warnings letting us know that if this recession should, let's say, relapse, there could be problems. There's an economist, a French bank Credit Suisse economist, who's warned that the fate of the monetary union hangs in the balance if Europe's policymakers are unable to ward off another global slump. He's saying if the Eurozone relapses into a recession, now I'm going to say the Eurozone has not ever left a recession. Most of the countries are completely imploding on themselves. I mean, Greece is right back in a recession. So they really haven't left, but they're using the idea that they've left the recession, and if they move back into recession, it's not clear that the euro area would endure. He said that there are worrying signs of deterioration emanating from Europe's economies. These include heightened credit stress in the banking sector and market volatility. So basically, what they're doing at this point is they're warning everyone that there could be problems ahead. And if there are problems, the economy might not be able to weather through this. And we know that it won't be able to weather through this because the economy's never recovered. Basically, what they're doing right now is they're setting us up to explain away why everything is going to fall apart. And they're trying to convince us that everything is fine now, and when it does fall apart, we have an explanation for it. Now, Britain is fighting this battle about staying with the EU, exiting the EU, and of course they're using a lot of fear tactics like Britain would be weaker, less safe if they leave, it wouldn't be good, and they're going to continually do this, and they did the same thing with Greece. Now, we know the central bankers would love to have one currency. It's easier to control for them. They would like to have control over all the countries. That would make it a lot easier. Think about what the European Union has done. They have created this one currency. The sovereignty of each country basically disappeared. They're going to control what the countries do. They're going to create their own police force, which they've already done. And they would like to do this for the rest of the world. And this is why they're trying to keep the EU together at this point. Now, here in the United States, ADP, they came out with their employment report. And we can see right now that the employment fell back to a more normal 200,000-ish level in January. And now in February, it rises once again to 214,000. And January was revised down from 205,000. And we can see that they're continually playing with these numbers. Now, manufacturing jobs, according to ADP, remain relatively flat for last year. They're down 9,000 in February. This is the second largest drop in 5 years. But what's very interesting about this is that we've been talking about manufacturing. We've been talking about how manufacturing is imploding. We've been talking about how the ISM Manufacturing's Employment Index has fallen sharply. Now, ADP has manufacturing employment moving up or flatlined, and the ISM manufacturing employment has plummeted. So someone somewhere is manipulating some numbers here. And we know there's probably a lot of pressure on ADP to keep the numbers looking good. We know the U.S. government does this quite a bit with their employment numbers because they don't want anyone to know that the economy is a lot worse than what they're saying. They did the same thing prior to 2008-2009 crash. They tried to convince everyone at that time that we were doing much, much better than we really were. They were basically hiding everything. They even told America, well, I should say the Fed, the central bankers, told America they're not forecasting a recession in the year the recession started. It's completely amazing. They're doing the same thing once again. Now, Sports Authority, as everyone knows, because it's plastered all over the place, they have declared bankruptcy. They're closing 1/3 of their stores. That's about 140 stores of the 463 locations. And you know, once they close these stores, it's a domino effect. They're going to be closing even more stores because guess what? Do you really think the economy is just going to bounce back and improve and people are going to go for and start to purchase goods at the Sports Authority? No. As time goes on and as more and more people lose their jobs, they have less discretionary funds. A lot of people getting nervous because in those corporations, they see people laying off and they're saying, oh, am I next? I better not spending any money right now. And this spreads to more and more people. So now we have 140 stores closing. These people are going to be out of work. And we see more layoffs are coming. IBM, they're saying layoffs are coming in many various locations. The Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, layoffs are coming. Siemens, layoffs are coming. This is continuing. It's going to accelerate as we move throughout this year. We're going to see more layoffs. And if you really think about it, going back to June of 2014 to this January of 2016, there are 1 million+ layoffs. That is a lot of layoffs. And these were good, full-time, high-paying jobs. Most of these people are having a very rough time finding the same job at the same pay. Some of them can't even find it at all, so they're taking part-time work. And as time goes on, you're going to see more foreclosures. You're going to see more delinquencies for cars, for housing. And it's just going to get worse. We're seeing that mortgage applications, they have fallen by 4.8%. And we can see at this point, the mortgage apps that have been taken out from last year to this year or the previous year, it's pretty much flatlined. And we're seeing a downward trend. It really hasn't gone anywhere. Because most of the purchases right now are not coming from the American person. It is coming from foreign investors, hedge funds, investment companies. They're paying cash. Now we know the manufacturing numbers are completely horrific. We're seeing factories, they're shedding jobs at the fastest pace since the last financial crisis. We see the Chinese economy, which has a huge manufacturing base. They are laying off millions of people because you have to remember, if they're manufacturing and their entire economy is made up of manufacturing and the consumerism states, countries I should say, are not purchasing, their manufacturing is going to decline. United States, Europe, with high unemployment, with a huge amount of debt, with layoffs coming left and right, we're seeing a drop in purchasing. This is why stores are closing. This is why retail is folding at this point. This is why factories in the U.S. are not producing. And this has a ripple effect into many different countries. And we're starting to see this spread. And it's going to get worse as time goes on. Remember, 70% of the world saw manufacturing sentiment deteriorate in February compared to January. At this point, unemployment rates in 36 states are higher than they were just before the last recession hit in 2008. 36 states since the last recession have not recovered. Their unemployment rates are higher still. Now remember, they changed the way they calculate unemployment since 2008 because they had to manipulate, they had to massage the numbers. But we look at states like Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, New Jersey, New York, Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, and so on. These states, their unemployment is much higher than it was during 2008. And we have to remember, if we go by the governmental numbers of today compared to the governmental numbers of 2008, it's a completely different calculation. So these numbers today, even though they're higher, I'll give you an example, like Arizona, their unemployment rate prior to the entire crash in 2008 was 3.9%. Today it's at 6.1%. But remember, that number is manipulated, just like the 4.9% that the U.S. is reporting, saying that we're in full employment. That number is completely manipulated. We know that number is much, much higher if we use the old accounting method, as John Williams does in Shadow Stats. It's closer to 20% plus. Some people say 30%. And if we look at all these states, we see the same thing. The numbers really don't tell the story because they're manipulated, but these numbers, even though they're manipulated, are still higher than 2008. And these states have not recovered whatsoever. Now, Russia has made a deal, and they're going to freeze oil output at January levels. An agreement has been reached during his meeting with the heads of the country's oil majors on Tuesday. And they've talked to many different countries that belong to OPEC: Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Venezuela, Ecuador, Algeria, Nigeria, and many others have said they're going to join the pact. The only country that said they're not going to join the pact is Iran at this point, because they have a special situation, because the country is at its lowest levels of production. They want to get up to that level of production that Russia and OPEC are now freezing the oil prices at. So Russia basically just stopped the agenda of the United States of suppressing the oil prices. There's a freeze right now because we can see at this point the U.S. was putting a lot of pressure on Saudi Arabia to push the oil prices down. And this had many different effects. One, it was putting a lot of pressure on Russia to destroy their economy. Two, it was trying to keep the U.S. economy alive. How? Well, as oil prices come down, shipping is less expensive. Air travel is less expensive. Well, maybe not to the everyday person, but to the company. They can make more profit if they're paying less for jet fuel, if they're paying less for transportation costs. If they keep the prices of the products the same or just drop them a tiny little bit, their profit margins are much, much higher. This is what has been keeping the economy alive here in the United States. People who used to pay, let's say, $30 to get a half a tank are paying $30 for a full tank of gas. They're doing whatever they possibly can to keep this economy alive. If these prices skyrocketed back up to where they were, this would be a complete disaster. And this is part of their agenda to keep this economy alive. And they're continually doing this because they know this system is coming down. And they know they only have a certain period of time before it completely collapses out of their control. And this is why everyone needs to be prepared in some way. This has been my message since the beginning. You know a storm is coming. You know it's in the south or out in the ocean. Yes, today it's sunny. It's beautiful. The weather's warm. But you know the storm is coming. Now, you can take the chance of not preparing, or you can say, you know something, even though it's sunny today, let me just get a little bit of food. Let me just get a little bit of water. Let me just have some cash on hand, some batteries, some medicine, a weapon to protect myself, just in case this sunny weather goes away in the next couple of days, because I'm hearing rumors that there's something bad on the horizon. I don't see it yet, but it could be coming. Days from now, all of a sudden you see the dark clouds on the horizon, still sunny here. Well, maybe, do I believe this person? Do I not believe? Do I really believe that something's coming? Another day passes, you see the clouds approach even closer, you see the wind's picking up, sun's not out, you start getting nervous, a lot more people are running to the store now to get their goods. Well, this is what's happening right now, the same exact thing. And this is why everyone needs to prepare. If you haven't started, I would start now. You can go to lifereliance.com. They have bug out bags, water filtration systems, seeds. You can customize your order. If you're preparing right now, continue to prepare. Don't stop. Pack things away, because when the system breaks down, you don't want to be running to the supermarket, because you know those people who lived in those areas where there are hurricanes and storms, you know what happens when there's a snowstorm, you know what happens when there's a hurricane. The shelves are completely empty, and if you're late coming in, you will not be able to get anything. The same thing is going to happen this time around. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.